Hi, where's your joy? Hey, where's my joy? My wife and I take a great deal of joy in listening to vinyl records that we've accumulated when we first got married over 50 years ago. We take a great deal of joy in the antiques we've inherited from our relatives, and we take a great deal of joy in just dancing to the music we hear in our heads. Yeah, joy is everywhere, and everybody wants to have joy in their life. And, last Wednesday morning, I'm listening to a Facebook Live. Pastor Michael Vaughn here in Rochester, New York, where I live, was doing a Facebook Live. I think he does these every Wednesday. He calls them Wednesday Wisdoms, and he gives it out to his congregation so that they can listen and kind of reinforce the message that he did the week before. And so the Sunday before, he must have done a message on joy because he spoke about joy, and I couldn't get it out of my head. Pastor Vaughn and his wife and his kids, they're the most joyful people you could ever meet. They're wonderful to be around. And so I couldn't get this message out of my head. And then on Friday, I go to a Bible study with a bunch of men early in the morning for breakfast. And what's the topic? Joy. Later that day, I'm on the telephone with my son, and he's going to ministry school down in Pennsylvania. And I said to him, "Hey, son, what do you think about the word joy?" For the next half hour, I listened, and he spoke. I'm telling you, God, it was downloading joy to me all this week. What is it? How do you get it? The Bible says, be joyful always. And yet it also, we're disciplined that if we go after happiness, we'll be unhappy. And so how does joy come to us? Joy is a gift. The fruit of the Spirit is joy, peace, and love. So how do we get this? Well, if you look in the Bible, in the book of John, chapter 15, you find Jesus speaking to his disciples. And he says this to them: "I have spoken these words to you so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be full." So he's spoken some words to them so that the joy can go into them, his joy. What words did he speak to them? You have to go back to the verse before. And he says, "Keep my commandments and abide in my love, as I keep the commandments of my Father and abide in his love." So it seems, if you want that joy, that feeling that you see in others that you want to have, then one of the elements of it is love. But it also said a commandment. So what's the commandment? You have to go to the verse after all of this. And Jesus says, "My commandment is that you love one another as I have loved you." Wow. So if you want joy in your heart, if you want a joy that's not just a joy for a moment or happiness for the second, but a happiness that pervades you, that's there when the times are tough, that you can just shake off the things and still feel that joy and happiness inside, then love one another as he loved us. That's what we have to do. We have to love one another. We have to serve one another. That's the secret to joy. We don't see a lot of joy in the world today, do we? I mean, everybody's so angry with each other. We've got diverse opinions about politics and all kinds of things. What if we could reach across the aisles? And the one who really has an emotional attachment to people, who wants to see free things given. We want to see the children taken out of the bondage of financial ruin from their schools. We want to see people who are suffering diseases. They've got this great love. Why can't they reach across the aisle to the people who see the facts of life, the cruelties, the things we have to do to make it right, and put the hands together in love and work together and serve each other? Now that would be a wonderful world. I think God's taking us toward that. I really do. I think that's why he's talking to me this week about joy. So if this message is for you, stop the anger. Reach across. Serve others. Love others. Even those that you don't like. And joy will come into your heart. See you next week.